For thousands of years, one story has haunted our collective imagination more than any other. The legend of a lost city, a shining civilization of unparalleled power and wisdom that vanished beneath the waves in a single, catastrophic day and night. I'm talking, of course, about Atlantis. But what if I told you that nearly everything we think we know about Atlantis is wrong? What if the story wasn't a myth at all, but a fragmented memory of a real, world-changing disaster? Today, we're going to peel back the layers of legend and look at the science, the history, and the human story behind the greatest mystery of all time. This isn't just a tale of sunken treasure, it's a detective story that spans millennia, connecting a Greek philosopher to a volcanic eruption that shook the ancient world to its core. Our story begins not with treasure maps or crystal skulls, but with the writings of one of history's greatest thinkers, Plato. Around 360 BC, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduced the world to Atlantis. He described it as a formidable naval power located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. This wasn't some fantasy land. Plato's account is incredibly detailed. He describes a city built in concentric circles of land and water, with magnificent temples adorned with exotic metals, and a society so advanced it was on the verge of conquering Athens and all of Europe. But then, as Plato tells it, their hubris angered the gods. In one terrible day and night of violent earthquakes and floods, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea. For centuries, people took Plato's story as fact. But as time went on, it was reinterpreted as an allegory, a cautionary tale about the dangers of imperial ambition and moral decay. And yet, the allure of a real, physical Atlantis never faded. It sparked a global treasure hunt that has lasted to this day. People have claimed to find Atlantis everywhere, from the coast of Spain and the Bahamas to Antarctica and even the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where the famous Mid-Atlantic Ridge was once thought to be the city's mountain range. Each theory had its moment in the sun, but none could provide definitive proof. The search seemed to be at a dead end, a myth that would forever remain just that. But then, modern science and archaeology started looking at the problem from a completely different angle. Instead of asking where is Atlantis, they started asking, what event could have inspired Plato's story? This shift in perspective changed everything. It led researchers away from the vast, empty Atlantic and back to the world Plato knew, the Mediterranean. Around 1200 BC, something catastrophic happened in the eastern Mediterranean. We call it the Bronze Age collapse. Within a few decades, great empires that had flourished for centuries, the Hittites in Anatolia, the Mycenaeans in Greece, crumbled into dust. Major cities were burned to the ground, trade routes vanished, and literacy was lost in many regions. It was a dark age that plunged the ancient world into chaos. Historians have debated the cause for years. Was it widespread warfare, famine, a series of earthquake storms? What if it was all of these things triggered by a single, monumental natural disaster? A disaster so profound that its memory was passed down for nearly 1,000 years until it reached Plato, distorted and mythologized as the story of Atlantis. This brings us to our most compelling suspect, a place that you might have even visited on vacation, the beautiful Greek island of Santorini. But back in the Bronze Age, around 1600 BC, Santorini wasn't the crescent-shaped island we see today. It was a single round island called Thera, and it was home to a spectacular civilization, the Minoans. The Minoans, based on the nearby island of Crete, were one of the most advanced cultures of their time. They were master sailors, brilliant artists, and incredible architects. Their settlements, like the one excavated at Akrotiri on Thera, were marvels of urban planning with multi-story buildings, advanced plumbing, and stunning frescoes that depict a vibrant and peaceful society. They were a maritime power that dominated the Aegean Sea. Does this sound familiar? A powerful island civilization with advanced technology and naval dominance? Then, the volcano at the heart of Thera exploded. This wasn't just any eruption. It was one of the largest volcanic events in human history, estimated to be many times more powerful than the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883. It blew the center of the island to pieces, creating the massive caldera we see today. The explosion would have sent a plume of ash miles into the sky, blotting out the sun for days and causing global temperatures to drop. It would have also triggered colossal tsunamis, with waves hundreds of feet high, that would have slammed into the coasts of Crete and other islands, wiping out coastal towns and fleets in minutes. The destruction of the Minoan settlement on Thera and the subsequent crippling of their civilization on Crete matches Plato's description of Atlantis with uncanny accuracy. An advanced island civilization destroyed by a natural cataclysm of earthquakes and floods and sinking beneath the sea. Plato wrote his story about 900 years after the Thera eruption. It's entirely plausible that the memory of this real-life apocalypse was passed down through generations, first through Egyptian priests who Plato claimed were the source of the story, and then to the Greeks. Over 9 centuries, the details would have blurred. A real, historical event could easily have been transformed into a grand, semi-mythical legend. The island of Thera became the mythical city of Atlantis. So, is Santorini the definitive location of Atlantis? While it's the most widely accepted scientific theory, the mystery isn't entirely solved. Plato's timeline and location beyond the Pillars of Hercules don't perfectly align. But these discrepancies can be explained. The time frame could have been exaggerated over centuries of retelling, and the location could have been a translation error or a metaphorical description. Beyond the Pillars of Hercules could have simply meant out in the great unknown sea. Ultimately, whether Atlantis was Thera, or another lost memory from the Bronze Age collapse, or simply a philosophical fable, is almost beside the point. The power of the Atlantis story isn't just about a sunken city. It's about what it represents. It's a profound reminder of the fragility of civilization. We see ourselves in the Atlanteans brilliant, ambitious, and convinced of our own permanence. Yet their story warns us that everything we've built, our towering cities and our global networks, can be undone. It reminds us that nature is a force far more powerful than any empire. The search for Atlantis is really a search for ourselves. It reflects our fascination with the past, our fear of the future, and our hope that even after the greatest of catastrophes, something, a story, a memory, a lesson survives. The true treasure of Atlantis isn't gold or lost technology. It's the timeless warning that echoes through its legend, that pride comes before a fall, and that we should never take our world for granted. What do you think? Was Atlantis a real place destroyed by a volcano, or is it purely a myth? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest legends. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into the mysteries of our world. We'll see you in the next video.